part 2 of making a overlay for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is what we left off with last time. We have just some scores and the round names, but today we're not going to be making it look better. That's to come later. Today we're going to be adding multiple scenes to the overlay, so this is kind of like the gameplay scene. And we're going to be adding one for the commentators and the players. So first I'm going to be doing some stuff in the controller. I'm going to go to this section here called Scenes, and I'm going to edit my scene collection. Don't want it to be called Untitled. Let's call it Ultimate. Seems to be a fitting name. Alright, press enter, and that's updated now. Now I can create a new collection if I want to, but I won't do that. And I still have my first scene here. So let's click on Edit Scenes. So this one is called Game, and we're supposed to press it during a match, and that's the text down there. So we'll leave that one. Let's add a new scene. Edit this. At the moment this one's also called Game, so let's rename it to Players. Okay, and we want people to click on this one between matches. Nice typo. This music does not match my typing speed on this keyboard. Okay. Between matches, and we don't want this source, we want it to be players. There we go. And that should be good, I think. Click the update button. Now we have two scenes. Let's just add a third while we're here. Let's call this one Commentators. And this one Between Sets, I think. And we want the image to be of the commentators. There we go. And that should be updated now. So we got three scenes. Scene 1, that's the scene that we were just on. Scene 2. Let's get to work on that one. So firstly, this is the code that we left off with last time. And basically this is not scene specific code, even though some of it should be. Because maybe on the commentator scene we probably don't want to show the round, because that's when the round would be changing. So what I'm going to do is go to the help section of the website and have a look at this conditions section, and this will entail stuff such as changing the overlay based on the tournament, the event, the game, but today we're interested in the scene. And you could do based on the scene collection, but we might not need that for now since we only have one scene collection. So let's resize this window because you can't even see it. Okay, we have scenes here. So the way we reference scenes in the CSS is with the data-scene attribute, and if that's set to players, then this code will be executed. So what we want to do is grab this get the space as well. Copy that. And go through all of these scenes and check which ones we want to be specifically on the game scene. Or the commentators scene, or etc. So I think we're going to start by adding this to the rounds. We only want the rounds to show up in the top left. Maybe we want it on both the player's scene and the in-game scene. So what I'll do here is first I'll make sure that it's on the player's scene, and then I'll copy this whole string here, paste it, and change this to games as well, or game, which the scene was called. Okay, so that means it'll show up on the game and the player's scene. So let's save that. And let's see if this works for now. So let's go to the controller here. If we switch to the commentators scene, there's no transitions at the moment, so if I refresh, okay, there we go. With this round name is smaller now, so it hasn't exactly done what I wanted it to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a second line up here to say not to display it when the scene is commentators. And let's call this, yeah, I think, okay. Let's get rid of this line I accidentally pasted in, like that. And now when the scene is set to commentators, it will not display the round. So let's save that, refresh. The round is gone because the scene is set to commentators. You can make the name of the scene the same as the description, but I kind of like to have a description to describe when to show the scenes instead. So if we switch back to the during a match scene and refresh, the round name is back. So now we just have to specify what we want on each scene. Let's have a look. So on the commentators, we probably don't want to show teams at all, so I'm going to take this and I'm also going to paste that up here. When the scene is commentators, don't show the teams either. Okay. Now let's find out this reference image. Basically, we don't want this to show up with the commentators either. So where have I put that reference image? Looks like I put it in body. So I'm going to make a different query here that targets the body when the scene is set to commentators, or more accurately, when it's not set to commentators. Okay, so that would be these attributes are set on the HTML element. So that means that I have to say on the HTML element if it is not the scene called commentators. Then show the image. Let's save that. Refresh. Okay, let's change the scene to commentators. Interesting. It's gone back to the way it was before with the small round name. Don't know what's going on there. Of course, I didn't even set it to get rid of the image when because I have this both here and here. So what I actually want to do is get rid of it out of the general case, and I want to say HTML when it's not this, then put the background image in. So let's try this again. Okay, now the image is gone. Very good. But the commentators round has shown back up. I mean, the round has shown back up. And that's because I forgot to put a comma here. So let's put that comma in. Save that. And now we have a blank canvas for the commentary scene. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of hiding the commentators always, I'm going to say only hide the commentators when the scene is not set to commentators. Paste that there. And that way they should now show up if I refresh. And that they do. Here they are. We got commentator 1 and commentator 2. I think I'm going to position them roughly in the same places as I did with the players down here. So I'm probably just going to copy this. So I probably don't want it to be exactly the same, so I'm not going to add an extra rule directly in the block. I'm going to just copy and paste it and change it later if I need to. So I'm going to copy all this. Probably don't need to touch the scores for now, so I'll leave them. Make a new section down here for the commentators. Gonna rename all these to commentators instead of teams. I'm gonna use a helpful feature in Sublime Text where I can select multiple things at the same time. There we go. And now the commentators' position should be updated. Very good. Here they are. Commentator 1 and commentator 2 down here. Let's see what it looks like when I change back to the game scene. And that's the game scene. So we already have two different scenes. They don't look very good at the moment. In fact, don't look very good at all. But first we're gonna move on to the players scene, or player cams more accurately, and this is actually going to show the player Twitters and scores, etc., and not just the player scores like in the game scene. So let's find out where I hid the player names. This looks like here, because it references players and names, so I'm gonna grab this line and paste it here. The line's getting a bit long, but that's just something you have to deal with. Let's go. If the scene is equal to Where is the name of the scene? Players. Here it is. Copy that. So now we're hiding the player names when the scene is not set to players. So let's save that. Go back to here. Refresh this. Okay. So the player names are now here. They have shown up again. And I think I will also get rid of this reference image. Actually, what I would rather do is make this reference image smaller on the player's scene. So I wouldn't want to put the reference image in the body anymore, because that would mean I'm resizing the whole overlay, which is equivalent to the body. So I'm probably going to make a new pseudo element, new terminology here, to hold this image for us, so we can resize it however we want. So I think I'll put, instead of body, I'll put body : before. And what that will do is, instead of putting it as the body, it will put it inside the body. So, but first we need to add some blank content, otherwise it won't show up at all. So it's just set the content value to blank and it should be fine. We might even need to set its display to block, but we'll get to that later anyway. So we want it to show the reference image when it's not seen commentators. Cool. I think I'll actually make a new statement here. One for the player's scene and one for the game scene. So I'm going to copy the player's text, put it here, copy this again, and make one for the game scene. Okay, so I actually want it to be with the game scene and not for the game scene, if that makes any sense. So we'll get rid of that not statement. And the image is already defined up here, so we can get rid of this stuff. But we still need to put the height and the width of this. So I think the height in the game scene is going to be 100%, same with the width. So let's do that now. Width is 100 BW. Look, we've already got this stuff up here. This is exactly how big I want the image to be. There. So that's good. And I want this to be quite a bit smaller on the player's scene, maybe only around 25%. So we're going to have to work out what's 25% of 56.25. That's a lot of decimal places. We will keep them because that will make our accuracy better. And let's save that and let's see if it makes any difference. So let's refresh. Okay, so the scene has completely disappeared. The reference image has completely disappeared. Let's see if changing the scene does anything. No, it does not. Let's figure out why that is. So there is a potential issue that this is not display block, because it will be by default set to an inline element, which means that you can't define its height and width. So now that I've put that little line in here, let's see if that fixed it. Looks like it did. Very good. We still have the background size in this element, so I'm going to get rid of that and put it down here instead. Refresh. Cool. One thing I forgot, in the default for CSS, it adds a margin around the whole overlay or whole web page. I'll show you in the actual preview, and get rid of this stuff. Actually, I'll add a little bit of white in the background, so that's got a bit of area in the top and the left that is actually moving the whole image towards the bottom right. So what I'm going to do is remove that margin by going into the CSS and typing margin none or margin 0. I'm not sure if it matters which one you do, but 0 is probably more technically accurate. Refresh, margin's gone. Very good. Okay. Now I think this is the game scene, so let's see what it looks like on the player's scene. Alright, so it is a quarter of the size of the screen. It's technically much smaller than a quarter of the total area, so it was a bit smaller than I expected. But what I'd rather move this towards the middle, probably. Not sure whether to move it towards the middle bottom, like I have in my current overlay, or whether I should put it actually in the middle, because I could have like a dividing line here if we're doing like a head-to-head setup. I think I might even do both to account for both setups. So anyway, it's got to be in the middle. So what I need to do is actually, I'll take a quick break for a moment. I'll be back soon. Oh, look at that. We have a little preview here, but it's transparent on the code scene. Anyway, let's move that game screen into the middle. So here we've defined the height and the width, but we haven't defined the left or the top properties. So I think what I'll need to do is put the left attribute. Actually, let's do the top first. So top, let's set it to, I think we can use percentage units because the body's not going to change size. So let's set the top to, the problem is I kind of want to put the center of the game in the center instead of the left of the game in the center. Same goes with the top. So what I'll do to make things easier for now, maybe I'll just put the bottom attribute instead. And set that to 0. And that should drag this. That did nothing. That's because I haven't set position absolute yet. Because by default you can't set the absolute position of something, you need to have it relative to something else, like its parent element. But most of the time we're going to have position absolute when making overlays, unless you want it to be like dynamic, like say if the text is too long you might go to a new line or something, and for that actually that's a bad example. If there's multiple items in a list and you want to adjust, let's say someone doesn't have a Twitch but they have a Twitter, but someone else has both, you might want to not set the position absolute to the Twitch name, because then the Twitter will appear below a blank space, because the Twitter is a blank space. Don't know if that made any sense, but for now we're just going to set everything to position absolute, and it might be easier to just do a actual wildcard here and go position absolute. That means for every element make it position absolute. That might cause problems later, so I'm not going to do that. For now I'm just going to put it in everything that needs it, but there is that option there if you want it. So now that I've set that, let's refresh. Alright, the game screen is now down below. Now we just have to set the left attribute. Right, left. So it has a width of 25%. So that means we want the left to be 25%. No, that's not true. We want it to be 50 minus half of 25%. 37.5%. Okay. Save that. Refresh. And now it is in the middle of the screen. I actually might move it to the actual middle of the screen because it's kind of covering up the player info here, which is not good. So we'll do the same thing, the same math that we did for the left, for the bottom, or the top actually. Probably be better to do. So let's go top and set it to, this is how high it is. So let's copy this value and this is how high the whole view is. So we need to go 56.25 minus that divided by 2. And we get a whole lot of decimal places again. We might go back and change this and make this a lot easier to understand. Maybe even do some calculations within CSS. But today we're just gonna do some janky math. Actually, that's the wrong value. I need to go both divided by 2. Let's hope this works. Okay, save this. Okay, I believe that's the middle of the screen. Could be slightly off. Let's have a look at the preview. Yeah, seems alright. Okay, so now we have a difference between the game overlay and the player cam overlay. Cool. So now we have 3 different scenes. Let's see what information we might want to add to this scene. So we want to keep the score and the player names. We might always also want to put the player Twitters and other social information on this scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab here we have reference to Twitter, and so we've always got it to display none. That's even for the commentators as well, which is not that great. You know what, let's actually add Twitters for the commentators, just because I want to see what it would look like. Let's have one commentator with a Twitter and one commentator without one. Save that. Okay. So Twitter, we want to display it, but not on the game scene. So let's copy this and let's change this to game. And now the Twitter should show up on both of these scenes. Okay, looks like that didn't work. What else have I got referenced to Twitter? So we have adding the @ symbol, as long as it's not empty. What else have we got? Nothing else referencing Twitter. So that's interesting that it's not showing up. Let's see if we change the scene, whether that'll do anything. Commentators, see whether the commentators' Twitters show up. I see what I've done wrong here. I'm doing a double negative. I actually want them to not be displayed on the game scene, instead of to not be displayed on not the game scene. So let's now refresh. Okay, so we got com1 Twitter there, just below the commentator name, and this one doesn't have a Twitter, so that's missing there, which is what we wanted. Let's check the players scene. Cool, so now we have the player names, their Twitter, and their score once again, just like the game scene. Refresh this, and the game scene has the game and the scores, etc. Cool, so that's 3 scenes. The information, we're probably going to add some more later. At the moment, we might move on to something else and possibly make a doubles scene, which, if we look in the help section of the website, let's have a look at the event and how it can change based on what the event type is. So the examples here talk about the cruise event, but we're probably going to make sure that the doubles event makes it change where all this stuff appears. I actually just realized I was going to have the scores come out of the player characters, but in doubles. First, let's maybe get rid of the background image, reference image for now. Let OBS do the work. Okay, so this is the singles layout, singles gameplay, and then we have some doubles gameplay here. And basically I need to move the score probably to in between the two players, or maybe to the very left or the very right of each team. Also not exactly sure what to do about the player cams on the doubles scene, because there's not much room to the left or right of each player, each of the teams. So that's something we're going to have to figure out later. But for now, I think I will probably move where the scores are, just to be in a more convenient position. And then we'll also see where the scores should be. Sorry, not the scores. Let's change the scene to players. And let's find out where the players should be when I set the event type to teams. First, I'm just going to take a quick break. I'll be back momentarily. Okay. So I think the first thing to do is to change the event type here to teams. And let's add some new players. Player 3, player 4. Okay, let's see how it looks in the overlay. So it looks, you know, let's go to the actual preview. Get rid of this for now. So the player names are kind of stacked on top of each other. That's not exactly what we want. And the score has changed to below both players instead of but by their sides. So what should I do first? I think I'll make the players side by side. Okay, so let's go to the help section of the website and find out that I can reference the data-event attribute, and if we set that to doubles instead of crews. We'll have to get to crews later. And let's say doubles players, I think. Actually, let's define the doubles teams first. So I think each team for doubles should take up around 40% of the width instead of only 17%. So let's add that here now. Width 40% of the width of the whole overlay. Save that. Don't think that'll make a difference for now, so I'm not going to bother refreshing. Let's move on to the players themselves. So each player I think I want to make each player be 50% of its containing element, which is its team. So for that I'm actually going to use the percentage unit instead of VW, because that's a relative unit. And if we save that, still not sure that'll do anything because we haven't set them to be side by side. So I'm actually going to put this to be, instead of display block, I'm going to make it display inline block. What we might do later is actually make it a flex box, and that way it can kind of like resize depending on how big each player name is. But we'll just see how this looks for now. Let's save that and refresh. Okay, that did nothing. What's going on here? So each player is still getting stacked on top of each other, despite me telling them to be inline block. That's interesting. Let's try Flexbox instead. So let's make a new element for the players instead of each player. Let's say for each, not for all players in a given team, let's set the display to flex. And now what we can do is set each player within the team to take up the same width. So that means that they would be flex. I think this shorthand is good enough for now. Flex to set it to 1. So that means that basically anything that's given the value 1. Actually, this is going to be hard to explain. First, I'm just going to see how it works. Okay, so that still did nothing. What's going on here? I just realized what's wrong. Basically, data event is never set to doubles. It's only ever set to singles, teams, or crews, not doubles. So that's my bad. Let's change this. Okay, save. Now this should work. Or at least be different. Okay, there we go. Nice. So the problem at the moment is that we have set the left attribute of team 2, and it is way too far to the left. Or actually, more accurately, I think we set the right attribute. So now we're gonna actually, let's go copy this and say, okay, only when the event is not set to teams, should it be right 25. Same with the first team as well. But now I'm going to copy all this. Make a new section. And I'm going to remove the not part of this. And basically this is saying whatever's in this section, if the event is set to teams, then each team, or more accurately the first team, should be 5% away from the left of the overlay. And I want to do the same here, except I want to make it 5% from the right of the overlay for the second team. So let's save that. Okay, cool. So now the teams are appropriately spread apart. Let's show the actual preview. So we have player 1 and player 3 teaming together. That's a little bit controversial. You'd think player 1 would team with player 2, but oh no, player 2 is going with player 4. Scandalous. Maybe it's even and odd numbers. Anyway, so that's looking a lot better than it was before. And this will be kind of similar to how it will be in the actual games scene as well. But I'm going to not show the player names or the Twitters on the games scene. I am only going to show the scores for now, because that's the singles, then we want to go doubles. Could definitely add a player name up there. It's kind of lining up pretty well already, but I think having the player names just under the percentages there is just more effective. So let's hide all that stuff on the games scene. So let's go to the game scene down here, and let's refresh. Okay, so the scores, they're there. Let's see how that lines up in the actual preview. Probably not the best positioning for the scores. I was thinking the left score might be okay. The right score is not okay. So I'm either going to position where the left score is, or I'm going to put it in between the two players. Let's just try in between the two players for now, which should be around 25% from the left and 25% from the right. So let's get working on that. Let's take this, copy and paste it, and let's go not only the teams event, we also want the scene to be something specific as well, which is the game scene. Where is the game scene? Here it is. Copy this. So this means if the scene is set to game and the event is set to teams, let's put the actually let's position the scores instead of the whole teams container. So here we have the score. Let's copy that. Put it here at the end of the first team. We want to go probably position absolute, and this just allows us to position it anywhere on the screen instead of being locked into a relative positioning system. And let's put it to be probably around 25% from the width, 25% of the width from the left of the screen. Let's copy this. And let's put, instead of the first team, let's put the second team here. And I want to put, instead of the left of the screen, let's put the right of the screen. Okay, I think that should be good. Hello, Samuel Durso. Welcome to the stream. This could be more efficient because we're setting position absolute to both elements instead of just a query that tells all of them to be position absolute. So let's grab this, copy it, and let's put let's get rid of everything that references the teams. Whether it's the first team or the second team, doesn't matter. There we go. Can I make an overlay for Fortnite? I'm not exactly sure how the scoring system works in overlays. I mean, in Fortnite. But basically, this stream editor is designed for fighting games and stuff, where people have like a specific, like if they win a match, they go up a score, etc. But I'm not sure about Fortnite, whether it's a match by match basis or something. Let's go position absolute here, and now we can remove it from both of these. Instead of having it in both, we've only got it in one. Okay, let's refresh and see whether the positions of the scores seem a little better now. Let's see how it looks in the actual preview. So the right score looks slightly better positioned. The left score is not. So I think I will just make some small adjustments to these numbers. Let's say 22% from the left, and probably only like 23% from the right, 24%. I think this partially has to do with how wide the value of the score is as well, which we'll probably need to change in the future, but for now let's keep things simple and let's just see how it looks with these actual numbers. So yeah, that seems roughly about correct. We've got the scores in between both players. Doesn't look very good at the moment, but we will change that in the future. We have the round name up there. So this is the round name in the top left, that's actually from the Nintendo Invitational, and that's how they put the round name there. And I'm thinking of actually doing something very similar to that for this overlay. But at the moment I just have the text and not the background. And currently the text is being interrupted by the text already on the reference image, so this is what it would look like in singles. So yeah, at the moment the event type is set to, why isn't this working? Okay, so the event type is set to doubles, so the preview will show the scores in the doubles position. But now, if I was to change the event to singles over here in the controller, change this to singles, and now when I refresh the preview, the scores will be in the singles position, like that. Obviously when we get to adding transitions later in the overlay, it'll change automatically instead of needing to refresh, so that'll be much more convenient. But for now, this is how it is. This is not very symmetric, the scores, so I'm just going to quickly change that so that the positions are more correct. So probably want to set the right value of the second player score to something like 22. Let's see how that looks. It's probably a bit much. 23. Okay, I think that might be going the wrong way, potentially. I want it to be further away. So let's go 27. Okay, that's not good enough either. Let's go 32. Let's do something extreme. No, I'm not sure that it's changing properly. Let's refresh this. Let's put the reference image back on the actual overlay over here. Okay, so the position is right here. So let's inspect this. It's a feature of Chrome and any other web browsers. You can go right click and click inspect, and that'll take you to this window here, and what you can do is find out exactly what properties each element on the page has. So I'm going to find out where I set this value here. You know why it hasn't been changing? Because I'm setting the commentators and not the players. No wonder it didn't change at all. Good on me. Okay. Let's set this back to like 25, whatever it was before. And let's find where I reference this, the teams. Here we go. Here it is. Okay, let's change this now. See whether so that is the teams. Let's find teams here. Second team, and here's the value that I was just changing. So let's. So it looks like I've got to set it to roughly 27 to be the same as the other team. 27.2, 0.4. Yeah, okay, 27.5 seems about right. So if I were to refresh this, this wouldn't save, so I actually have to copy this value and paste it in my actual code just to make sure it saves properly. So let's save this, get rid of this, refresh. Okay, it should be in the right position now. Let's check. Okay, so now both the scores are in the right position. That's very good. And when I change it to doubles, they're in the wrong positions, but if I were to set the event type to doubles, teams, and go to preview, they're in the right positions. So, I think that'll be about it for this stream. So what we did was we made multiple scenes, which can be seen here. We got a player's scene, a commentator's scene. Let's see what the player's scene looks like for now. Preview that, get rid of the reference image. This will be different if I turn the event type to singles or doubles. If I add more players here, player 2, let's have player 1 team with player 2 this time. Player 3 and player 4. Let's see what the preview looks like. So we have the Twitters listed under each player name, and we have the teams separated down the middle of the screen. And finally, let's have a look at the commentator scene, which is independent of what the event type is. Let's have a look what it looks like, preview, and there it is. It's just the commentators and their Twitters if they have one. So, I think that'll be about it for this stream. Thanks to anyone who came and watched, or if you are watching the video on demand afterwards. Looks like Chrome is crashing anyway. Oh, no, it's not. It's I was just accidentally dragging this, apparently. Oh god, what is happening to my mouse? Okay. So, see you guys in the next stream.